Welcome back again, everybody, to the Word Traction Network daily podcast. And this is Trump, Epstein, and the Tate brothers. And how is it they're often compared now? The Tate brothers. There was a hearing within the last hour in South Florida. The Tate brothers looking to be let out of custody pending further court proceedings. And the judge put it off until the 27th of August because the Tate brothers defense counsel said they needed to gather more information. And it's my apologies. I don't mean to ever find humor in this subject matter because it's desperately serious. But the fact that the Trump family, the Trump administration, Donald Trump himself, is able to avoid culpability for various and very serious accusations of sex trafficking and going all the way back. I mean, the judge, as we talked about many times before, and just in the ruling with the E. Jean Carroll case, that is, you have been adjudicated a rapist, sir. And the generation skipping. No, they're moving right on. The Tate relationship with Don Jr. goes back quite some time before the Trump 1.0. And of course, now there is the connection, in fact, a Zoom call between Barron, who now just turned 20 earlier this year. And they all have been vocal advocates, Don Jr. and Barron, the youngest, for the Tate brothers. And they're suggesting, I guess, that they're misunderstood. If you remove all of the other accusations, and I'm not suggesting that we do that, but if you just take them at their word, the Tate brothers are two of the most reprehensible human beings that we've known about. And that's part of their shtick, is open misogyny, open aggressiveness, the hyper masculinity. And it's really what the connection that I made, the Epstein sexual exploitation. It's clear. It's as clear as the day is long. But one behavioral aspect of Trump 2.0, which is intriguing and unsettling and perplexing and confusing, is that Trump does the corruption right out in your face, right? And it kind of goes back to, Project 2025 as a foundation. But if you think about what makes Steve Bannon, and he was Trump's political guru and still acts in that, he gets pushed to the side every once in a while and then brought back into the nest. It's kind of, think of it as hyper transparency. Transparency often has a positive connotation, like, hey, we're being open and honest. But this is something completely different. That it's a human psychology assault, where if what they were doing was bad, they would not be so open about it. So by virtue of that, disbelieve it. And think about that one issue. Trump's entire life on the planet, and Trump 1.0 and Trump 2.0, is that the distractions are part of the deal. I think I am, I fear I am about to be assaulted by lawn machinery. I'm feeling like I'm close to being under assault. So I'm going to try to talk faster, which many of you implore that I do in any case, or I'll go inside. So hyper transparency. The Tate brothers, this, these men who will now stay in custody in South Florida, pending further hearings until the 27th of August. By prior behavior of the Trump administration, you would think that between DJT, Don Jr., Eric is for some reason left out of this conversation. Maybe the only smart thing he's done in his life is stay away from these two clowns, the brothers. But Barron, it's very troubling. It should be for parents of a young. He's a man. He's 20, but he's a young man, and he's had a rather cloistered life. And these guys are legitimately dangerous, not because I think that he has his own presidential Secret Service detail. Young Barron does. I don't think he's at physical risk, but psychologically, to be exposed to these people, the Tates. I hope many of you don't know that much about them. That would make you probably better human beings. And I certainly am not I'm not a completist, because they've done a lot of work. It's very disturbing work. But one of Andrew's, just a couple of the quotes, and I may paraphrase slightly, but I'll try to get the main gist of the point across, is that one of the reasons he gave for wanting to choke women while having sex with them is that he finds the sound of their voice long after the choking, meaning doing it in a profound way that has a lingering effect. He finds that to be, excuse me, sex. Right? And the other, when he himself referred to Jeffrey Epstein, he refers to Jeffrey Epstein as a pimp, and says that everybody loves a pimp. Right? This is Andrew Tate extolling the virtues of Jeffrey Epstein as the hero, as an organizational goal to attain. Right? And of course, there are some substantial differences, but not when it comes to the crimes. Just think about Epstein. It's a generational thing too. When Trump and Epstein were controlling pageants and chasing women around, the girls around the dressing rooms at Miss Universe and other Miss Teen USA pageants. This is many decades ago. Not excusing the behavior. It was many decades ago. But there was, if you look at the web of the Epstein participants, the island crew, the Little St. James Broligarchy. Bill Gates, we know about. Ehud Barak. Vladimir Putin didn't travel to the island, as far as we know, but other members of the Israeli government did. And we know about Bill Gates. We know about certain owners of certain NFL franchises. I'm here in northern Massachusetts, not too far from me. And other people, men of great power and influence going back decades, CEOs of banks. Some of the names have been well documented, and some are still to come out because, of course, Todd Blanche, now the Attorney General of the United States of America, is going to jump up and down on the Epstein files and do the thing. What he did just in the last couple of days is announce far-reaching investigations into things related to Fauci, um, radical radical leftist groups protesting socialism, just a Southern poverty law center, just all sorts of really far-flung, baseless investigations in an effort to distract from the election interference, the Epstein files, the fact that with people like Ellie Leonard and also young Mr. Parnas. They are keeping this subject very much at the forefront of the discussion. We have to. I'm just thinking about Ellie and her. Uh, I hate to say heroic because the real heroes, of course, are the survivors. But the work that Ellie Leonard has done on this platform and on YouTube and on other places to keep this at the forefront of everybody's consciousness. It's, you know, uh, people could say and accuse me, if you'd like, of exploiting the pain of the victims for other purposes. I'm not trying to aggrandize myself, and I'm sure that Ellie is not either, nor is Aaron Parnas. But there are people out there that are trying to do that, and we should call that out for what it is. But the Trump administration has made every effort to quiet this discussion, to minimize. We haven't even got to Zorro Ranch in earnest yet. And that is, there are so many other branches of this poisonous Epstein tree that haven't even been brought forward yet, because it was always hoped across administrations, across companies, across all sorts of governments across the world, to the Peter Mandelsons. These are powerful people. Trump, Mandelson. Putin doesn't give a fuck what anybody thinks. Bibi, as far as I know, not implicated. Ehud Barak, very much so. In fact, that he was pointed out as being one of the particularly most cruel visitors to the Epstein uh, home, and one of the clients that enjoyed cruelty more than many others did. The Tates, though, this radical transparency, hyper transparency, they thrive on it. They have, the perhaps, I don't know what the numbers are today. I've never tracked exactly how many followers Tate has on his various platforms. But just as people of good faith figure out what they're looking at and looking at the cruelty to women, there are others that, of course, are drawn to that. So the trial and the additional exposure will only grow his audience further. That's the absurd dynamic of social media cruelty in the age of Trump. These are people that Trump reached out to with the assistance of his own male children to get him much more exposure going into the 24 election. It was Barron, who was at that point not a math major, but let's say he was only 18 at that point, saying, "Dad, why don't you got to get in touch with these guys. You got to talk to them because they reach the audience that is key to your success. And Don Jr. the same way. So if you make the connection back through J.D. Vance and Tucker Carlson, of course, Tucker Carlson's son is a communications exec with J.D. Vance, and Vance would probably argue. I mean, think about the manosphere, the all of those influencers there, and these are guys that are chummy with J.D. Vance. Some of the Tate apologists, the most famous of them, that assisted Donald Trump and continue to be in the MAGA sphere are, recently Tucker Carlson has been disparaged. You see Hunter Biden on this platform and others talking about, the his argument that you need to talk to these vile individuals to understand what the risks are, and that is true. But it's a dangerous knife edge to tread on if you are legitimately trying to get to something that's more important for humanity, not self-promotion, but something more material and meaningful. Then yes, the manosphere characters are important. But even you know other Tate apologists included the not so dearly departed Charlie Kirk, right? And he made it's on wax, you know that these are good guys. I'm not well. What as many of the manosphere participants say, Rogan otherwise, that hey, well, I'm not sure they're being investigated. I don't want to cast aspersions on whether they are going to be found guilty because they haven't. And this is after you know uh, numbers of years of convictions in Romania and otherwise. And again, it is in their own words, on videos, on wax, as the old folks used to say. This is this is not a an AI fake. This is in their own words. Choking women. Women do not deserve to vote. I am the pimp. I insist they call me king. And the way that he made his money, just to be clear, was to victimize. Here's the perfect, uh, no such thing as a perfect analogy, but this is a solid Epstein to Tate analogy, is that what he learned from Jeffrey Epstein is to victimize the most vulnerable women, people from in poverty, broken homes, that were earlier victims of sexual violence and exploitations, to take those women because it would be easier to break them and then make them perform on the porn site so the Tates could sell more subscriptions. That's what their business model was. At-risk women exploited to make money on porn sites. That's it. That's the Tate business model. And you have the Trump children, if not Donald Trump directly. We don't need to implicate Donald Trump directly. He's got enough going on down at Little St. James Island. We know everything. We don't know everything yet. We know enough. And the senior senators in the Republican Party, they don't want to know, but they know. They're not behaving as if they know. And then Todd Blanche, of course, just going to obscure, and the 20 odd page manifesto that he published after he was sworn in, talking about, you can see exactly why this happened, suggesting that not only the president, but the immunity extends to other people that the Trump employs as his advisors, however formal or informal the relationship. Rick Grinnell is the one that negotiated the release of the Tates from Romania. They flew back over here. It's been about a year. They've been in Florida, and as we know, they were picked up a couple months ago in Miami, looking all in their pimp clothing, and and now it's will they be extradited to the UK to face credible, documented charges, or will Trump do something like he's done before with our European allies and say, I will tariff you and I will fuck you up financially if you don't pardon X, Y, and Z, right? Rick Grinnell, he delivered a message like that to the Romanians, or maybe he had a kava bag with him, or both. Both work. It works better. Carrot and stick at the same time. Much more efficient. So, yeah, Epstein, well-traveled roads of hideous abuse and cruelty, and the Tates we've all known about them for a long time. But it's important to realize at its very, not the simplest level, because there's nothing simple about humans that behave this way, but at the baseline, what this is a story of, Andrew, probably a little bit worse than his brother, Tristan, whoever he is. He's more public facing, but they're both horrible. Are we going to allow the Trump administration to distract on this? Because Barron's calling his dad and saying, you got to help these guys. Dad, they're my friends. Remember, they hanging out at the house. Where's Melania? It's a very bad scene. But will Trump figure out a way that is politically expedient to, extradite them, but then have an arrangement? There, Keir Starmer isn't there for him to abuse, and I would imagine Andy Burnham isn't going to be a pushover. But Trump can still exert tremendous influence on world leaders because he's the president of the United States and he's got grievances. Right? He has that kind of not benign but evil, Dr. Evil influence. So, yeah. So I would just think about that. Think about hyper transparency. And think about it in terms of Trump's corruption, unrelated to Epstein, unrelated to the Tate brothers. Think about this disruptive practice of hyper transparency and doing everything out in the open as I'll use a highly technical term, but as a mind fuck to distract people in such a way. Think about it, human nature, as I mentioned earlier. If in fact all the things that people are accusing him of doing are true, then a genius like Trump would not be doing it out in the open. Therefore, I'm not suggesting the MAGA mind is going to operate this way, but we can translate it and we can Jethro the idea and just say, if it's out there in the open, then it's kind of like the double fake, right? It's the head fake. Can't be true, because then that would be Trump essentially exposing himself to criminal liability. And that's the biggest joke of all, because John Roberts and Sammy Samuelito and Clarence Thomas And Neil Gorsuch and the rest have given him immunity. It shouldn't apply to his children. It shouldn't apply to Rick Grinnell and his other associates. But that's what Todd Blanche is trying to do. He's trying to extend that protection, the impunity, to every member of the administration, essentially, because what what Blanche is trying to argue is if Trump, in between bites of Big Macs with extra sauce, so oh, yeah, he's my advisor. Yeah, that 15-year-old girl was my well, that's a different story, but all of the people in the White House, and as he said before, within, 250 yards of the White House, whatever that statement was, that they are my advisors, therefore, that communication was shh, a secret, and it should be protected as such. There's no legal basis for that, but he has a tame Supreme Court, and at least he can use it as a tool to delay, delay, delay. And we only have not time delay, 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 and we're close to 2 years left. In any case, so that is that disruptive, uh, radical, perverse transparency. But it tracks, it stacks. It is it is the Bannon special. So, yeah. Thank you guys. Love you for tuning in, and uh, kindly restack, subscribe, retweet, share, share on another platform if you're able to, and we'll be back with you sometime tomorrow. I'm going to do my lean in carefully so guy that can't see. I'm just doing it. Spatial relationship button should be around there. Thank you. Have a great day today.